who's there to provide comfort, relief, support for our frontline workers, and for that matter as well, for all the thankless jobs. Half the world's population stands for a living in healthcare or hospitality, back rooms, and we realized that there just was a huge lack of support from a physical product standpoint. And so we stand for the individuals that physically stand, but that stand for something as well. And especially in the athletic community, who we align ourselves with are ones that give back to the community, that stand up for themselves, their values, their family. And those are the types of individuals that we're really proud to get behind.
Creating a physical product is extremely challenging.
Yeah, a lot of luck, but a lot of listening. So when I started this out, I think the best way, and my background as well, is growing and scaling consumer brands, and the ones that I saw really take off weren't necessarily the ones that were most funded, but they were ones that were solving real problems. But it was just this constant feedback loop with our community, and candidly, the first shoes that we launched, we still have a lot of people that love that, but there's a lot more that we could improve upon. And so our internal product development engine, it's going to sound kind of interesting when you hear it at first, but we love 1-star reviews. Because people who love you, they're not really going to tell you what you can improve upon. People that don't love you, they're going to tell you everything, and they're going to tell it to you straight. And that was really powerful.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Myokinetix Podcast. Today I have Rob Gregg, who's the owner of Stand Plus. If you guys seen me wear my all-white recovery shoes, you know I'm a big fan of these shoes. And the reason why is because it actually works. It's comfortable, way better than Crocs. And, I'm way too old and way too active to be just wearing Crocs. So the great thing about these shoes is that one of my college players actually put me onto them. And as soon as I tried them on, I was like, man, I got to reach out to Rob. And, lo and behold, I DM him. He answered me, turned out to be him. It's the CEO to answer in DM, which is great because I do that myself. Fast forward, we got some shoes to try on. The team love it. And I knew the vision that he has when it comes to recovery, especially for an athlete, for anyone who's on their feet, for a long time. I need to get him on the podcast. So, Rob, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here.
So, hey, man, the one thing that really stood me out when it comes to doing research for your company is the phrase that you came up with, stand for those who stand for us. So what does that mean? Because it sounds powerful.
Yeah. So a little background on me. I used to work 16-hour days in a mailroom on concrete, and it's a thankless job. But it's really key to making the company go on. And it's actually part of the promotion program of this agency I was at. So you realize there's no small jobs. Well, I kind of took that with me, and originally at the pandemic, I started giving back to a healthcare group, specifically nurses, and they're on their feet all day, but they're literally showing up through some of the worst health scare conditions in our lifetime, but showing up for other people. And what I realized is they're there standing for others, but who's standing for them? Who's there to provide comfort, relief, support for our frontline workers, and for that matter as well, for all the thankless jobs. Half the world's population stands for a living in healthcare or hospitality, back rooms. And we realized that there just was a huge lack of support from a physical product standpoint. And so we stand for the individuals that physically stand, but that stand for something as well. And especially in the athletic community, who we align ourselves with are ones that give back to the community, that stand up for themselves, their values, their family. And those are the types of individuals that we're really proud to get behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that because that's really resonated with me, right? My sister's a nurse. And again, with all the college, the pro athletes that we work with, every time they come in and they have injury, the one thing I always look at is like, what are you wearing on your feet, right? And they either come in with Crocs. Some of them, there was an influx where a lot of people come in with designer slides, like some Gucci slides, and then there's a Dior slides that look like hospital shoes where they give to diabetic patients. Like, dude, those are not going to help you, especially with people with history of, let's say, Achilles tendonitis and all of that stuff, right? So let's talk about your product design. So how do you was it like a lightning that strike? You're like, I need to do this. Like, how do you come about to embark on this journey? Because again, creating a physical product is extremely challenging.
Yeah, a lot of luck, but a lot of listening. So when I started this out, I think the best way, and my background as well, is growing and scaling consumer brands. And the ones that I saw really take off weren't necessarily the ones that were most funded, but they were ones that were solving real problems. And as smart as we are in our daily lives, we have a certain sphere and view of the world. The best way to develop a product for a customer base is just listen and talk to them. So what I started, it's a really simple thing. I opened up a Google form and I said, "What's your name? Where do you work? And let's talk about the shoes that you're wearing. What do you like? What do you not? What brands are amazing to you? What do you wish existed?" So I gathered a huge amount of data to start with, and I saw some trends and themes appear that seemed like a really interesting gap that was missing. Turned those into focus groups. I then was designing shoes myself. Now we've got an incredible designer that's come on board to significantly improve the visual aesthetics. But it's just this constant feedback loop with our community. And candidly, the first shoes that we launched, we saw a lot of people that loved that, but there's a lot more that we could improve upon. And so our internal product development engine, it's going to sound kind of interesting when you hear it at first, but we love 1-star reviews because people who love you, they're not really going to tell you what you can improve upon. People that don't love you, they're going to tell you everything and they're going to tell it to you straight. And that was really powerful for us. So I picked up the phone. Hey, what did we not get right with this product? Well, I need wide width because I have a wide width fit. Great. What else? And so we'd write down these features and I say, I'm going to work on this. Can I come back to you? When I do, let's see how these work for you. And so we were converting churned individuals into loyalists, but even beyond that, we were developing products that just continually improved. And at some point, you run out of 1-star reviews. You get it right. So we're in our 4th generation of the product, fueled by 1-star reviews. Now it's rare that we get them. Usually it's my size is out of stock, or when are you going to get these colors in? But that's really fueled it. And then the other piece is we're not really fans of copying or just doing a slightly better version of what exists. We started by taking a look, using data, science, and physical studies around, well, what exists and why are these not a perfect solution? Because if there was already a solution that existed, we wouldn't exist as a company. The whole reason for being is there's clearly a pain point, clearly it has not been addressed, but why? And this is where our key learning came and what we centered a company around. So as you mentioned, you've got kind of the clog style shoes. Well, the athletic shoes, surprisingly, were not doing the trick. I love running in my athletic shoes and the jobs that they're designed to do for. I love those. I wear my hiking boots for hiking, running shoes for running, track shoes for track. Well, when we're talking with nurses and people on their feet, they're like, these shoes don't really hold up for a 16-hour shift. Why? We sent him out. Dr. Jeffrey Gray is out on this coast, sports therapist, and he's got a lab called Helux that tests all major footwear brands with machines and individuals, mostly to figure out what's the width on it, do they breathe, what's the arch support. But a really interesting finding came out of that. It's the fact that athletic shoes that are most commonly worn, talking about sports off the track, off the field, people just continue to wear those. Well, they're designed to store energy and put it up into your body, act like a trampoline. That really bouncy, cushy thing, it's trying as hard as it can when you step down to push back, to do its job, to propel you forward, to give you that extra vertical jump. Well, it's the opposite of what you want when you're in recovery mode, when you're on your feet all day. We looked at, well, there's got to be something that exists. It's a recovery mat. This big kind of ugly thing that sits behind the bar and usually only gets used if you're in that one part of the floor. And well, instead of cover the whole floor, why don't we just wrap that into a shoe? Use that technology. So rather than take impact and rebound it as high rebound, let's go the opposite. Let's make the slowest shoe in the world, one that takes impact and disperses it. And by the way, put a really good insole in the shoes. This is something that's surprising to us to still see. The recovery space is not one that we coined the term on. It's one that we're proud to be an entrant in. But something that really stands apart is the fact that we've never found another recovery shoe that's actually put an insole or quality insole inside the shoes. And listen, if you're an athlete and you're a performer, you're not going to take your insoles before you go out for a run. That'd be crazy. But when we look at recovery shoes, I don't know if it's a cost thing or they think that consumers just won't notice or care, but they don't put insoles inside of the shoes. And when you think about recovery, a bed is a really obvious example. You sleep on it to rest and recover. And it's got 2 parts. You've got a box spring and a mattress. You're not going to pull the mattress off to go get a good night's sleep. Similarly, so with shoes, you're not going to take the insole out or not even sell an insole with the shoes and call that a recovery shoe. And so we've got an outsole and an insole with the product. And furthermore, we took about 4 years. You can say a lot of nice things in marketing and that will get you so far, but we really stand behind, let's actually validate the product. Did we get it right? And if we didn't, how do we improve? But 4 years later in development, we're now the first and only recovery shoe that's HSA, FSA eligible. You can use your HealthSpend and FlexSpend accounts because they've been demonstrated to help reduce common foot problems. And so where we are, really, we're on the unsexy side of shoes. I mean, I think the shoes look great, but our view is that your health is not a fashion statement, and your shoes should do a lot more than just look good. They should actually be supportive for your body. And listen, it's the most important part of your biomechanics where your feet hit the ground. So we're just fortunate and happy to play that role in giving athletes a little bit of extra term in their careers, or just casual individuals the ability to go do the things they love, but not feel like at the end of the day they have to kick their feet off because their body's just taking a beating.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many to unpack there, right? So I love your first approach to creating this product. I mean, we have so many um overlap in our approach, right? That's why we kind of hit it off when we were on the phone together, because you know your product is there to solve a problem that was not yet solved, and but you did it by doing survey. My clinic was doing the same thing, where my survey was me being in the trenches treating patient, and they're just like, well, there's no specific PT that's geared toward athlete or return to sport. Like, can we create something like that, right? So that's where I got my first iteration from. And I love the fact that you are not shying away from the 1-star review, or would say like negative feedback or constructive feedback, right? Because those when we learn. I mean, we've been in business for 8 years. We got one-star review, and that was just bad fit, was not, we were not the right setting for that individual. But then again, we learned from that, right? What I do love is, based on this one book that I read, it's called Ask, which is asking the consumer what they want, and they'll tell you. When you ask people will tell you. And I think the fact that you just kept doing that over and over again, 4 iterations later, now the shoes are now like on the market and people love the product. But another thing too is that when we talk on the phone, is that you're never just satisfied with people just loving the first iteration, right? Because you're already on to the next thing, the next technology, and all of that stuff. And not to get too nerdy to the people who are listening, what Rob was saying is the ground reaction force. Again, when you're producing force, you have to attack the ground, then the ground give you the force back. That's why your cleats, your sneakers, those things are there to help you perform. But what you really want in your recovery shoe is that as soon as you step into the ground, the force actually disappear. So that we don't have to worry about the force bouncing back up. That's why you have knee pain, hip pain, back pain, right? So that's why when we tell people, like, hey, don't just go into your Crocs, then hop on into your cleats, because that's not really going to work. And then hop back to your Crocs again. Then that's when you're going to have that back pain and all of that stuff. So I love the idea that you're able to just take it for a healthcare provider, for people who stand a lot, and then also now breaching into the space of the athlete space. Now, speaking directly towards the athletes, what have been the biggest feedback from athletic community and the biggest pushback from the athletic community when it comes to the recovery shoes?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because sports candidly wasn't even the top 10 in demographics that we initially planned to serve. Sports really came to us. And specifically, I was at a healthcare conference out in LA, and I ran into the president of NFL Alumni Health. Shout out to Billy Davis. His daughter's a nurse. We talked about that, but it was clear that he was in a lot of physical pain just from walking the trade show floor. And what he had told me is he's had 11 surgeries on his lower extremities, and life is a little different for him now. So I got his size, showed up the next day, gave him a pair. 2 weeks later, my phone rings, and he's complaining that I've ruined shoes for him because now I can't wear the designer shoes and stuff that he liked. And these are the only shoes that were going to be a fit for him. So in the athletic space, what we realized is these are individuals that care about their health, they care about performance, and they're open to the investment. And when it comes to making investment in that, whether it's a career or just casual, it really changes the conversation in the subject. Kind of like if you're going out to eat and you have means, you're going to pick different restaurants than if you're just eating to survive. And so with athletes, they're wearing shoes to thrive, not just survive. And so The athletic community really came on strong. We're partnered with the NFL Players Association. We work with the NFL Alumni Health. We're now talking to the other players associations, and it really is just this crazy thing. And in fact, I've got a manager who had a couple of players just buy the shoes. I think the first athlete, just period, who bought our shoes is Terrell Owens. He bought them. He DM'd us. He posted. It was just incredible. He was the first athlete. And when managers reached out, it was something, the feedback we got was usually we see something that pops up in the space. And if we're lucky, we get 7 out of 10 guys or girls that like it. If it's really amazing, we get 9 out of 10. And the feedback has been, this is just 10 out of 10 every single time. Every single time. And he goes, I'm not telling you this to make you feel good. I'm telling you this, that just there's something here that I've not seen before. And so now these individuals we've brought into the fold on our team, it's been an amazing advisors to us over the past few years. And really it's acting as a lightning rod. We're actually now selling directly into sports teams. So any pushback we get is either we haven't previously purchased these. And the answer to that is, well, let me just send you some shoes and see if they're a fit. Or it's we've already spent the budget for this year, so we'll talk next year. Those are really the only pushbacks that we've gotten. But whenever we show up, we usually don't actually sell the shoes in the traditional sense. I don't give them marketing materials and a whole list of benefits. I just ask for their shoe size. And if they've already worn another shoe, I just say, well, just try this on and let's do the Pepsi challenge. Close your eyes, take a few steps, and you tell me which one feels better. And we let the product speak for itself. So it's product-led sales. And every single time that we show up, we get just overwhelming positive reception. The other interesting one that's come up is, does this violate any other kind of sports deals and things like that? But when we looked at it, pretty much all of them are for official game day and on the field activations for the press and the PR. That's great. Keep those deals. We're not trying to interfere with that. But, well, what do those contracts say when it comes to your health? And what do those contracts say when it comes to your recovery? Interestingly enough, none of these brands touch that or focus on it, which is surprising to us because not only do you want to have athletes that are performing, but you should care about their health and you should care about the longevity of their career and even after their career. And so it's a wide open space, at least for now. And so when we have these conversations, that's usually the question. Can I do this if I'm one of the top performance brand shoe company athletes? And the answer is yes. And it's just been really fun, honestly, just being in the locker rooms, being on the travel days, not focusing so much about being out front, but really focus on being behind the scenes when you're recovering, when it counts. And that's the role that we play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, since we start, using this ourselves and then, having our athletes start using them, is that all I see is that by the time they walk in, that's what they walk in with, and they couldn't wait to get them on, right? That's the biggest thing. That's how you have a good quality product, right? That like someone couldn't wait to just throw them back on and all that stuff. And honestly, aesthetically speaking, I think they're great. I'm a big fan of the all white one. It's been my like go-to summer shoes all along. Now obviously like technology and especially in the shoe space, things change rapidly, right? So what are something you're doing to kind of keep you ahead of the curve when it comes to the recovery space?
Yeah, well, two things. One, and this is a non-traditional answer, I hope footwear companies step up and take this seriously. I think there's a lot of room. If you look traditionally at some of the top shoe brands, there's a lot of space and there's a lot of feet. And where we're coming from, it's really focused on the health. And there's only so many feet that we're going to cover. Listen, we'd love to cover everybody's feet. But what I think would actually be really cool is to start to see some of these bigger companies start to take health a lot more seriously. So if we can be a catalyst to be kind of that scratch on their back of, hey, we're coming for you, maybe you should act different, I actually think that's a win. But for us in particular, we're in a really amazing spot. Our manufacturing partners, they're a multi-billion-dollar chemical compounds company based in Italy, and we really think of them as family. And what they've told us over time, because when we started, tiny, tiny, tiny compared to the volumes that they do. And they do Prada, they do Balenciaga, they do, best of the best. And so when we got in touch, I talked to them about the mission behind it, what we were looking to accomplish, who we were looking to provide this for, and it really resonated. And at this point now, we're family. We're not partners. We're not contractors. We're family. And as family, you do things in a different way. And so traditionally, it would take a really long time to develop new compounds. The cost would be extremely high. But we've now gotten to the point where they understand not only what the product is serving, but honestly, the reviews that come through. I share them, and we get quite a lot. I just got one the other day. It's a military vet. He works at a restaurant, and it's his representation, and basically said, I'm not reaching out asking for anything. I just wanted to share this story. But they told him that he didn't have that much longer that he could be standing. And these shoes are honestly the thing that gets him through the day. And he talks about you constantly, not only on his socials, but as an individual. But these have really had an impact in his life. And I've shared that with our family that's on the development side. And because of that, we're always looking at, okay, this is amazing what we've done so far. We can always improve. We can always do something better. So anything that we have in market, we probably have another product getting ready to launch. We actually have one that's going to get ready to launch in October. I'll show you after the call so we don't ruin the surprise. But we have sort of 3 horizons with our business. The first is, what are we doing today and how do we make sure that it's the best fit? Horizon number 2 is, well, what's coming in the immediate future that we need to start planning for and developing now? So that's what's launching in October. And then horizon 3 is, let's say, fast forward, if we're wildly successful and the world goes in any which way, shape, or form, where do we want to be at the end of the day? And for us, our mission is and always will be a solution to pain, to provide relief in every step. And so the world's going to change. It's already changing really quick. The occupations are going to change. It's changing really quick. And so for us, it's focusing on, well, what's the next underserved community that deals with pain on their feet? And do we have a product that can serve that? For example, looking at polycarbonate toe cap protection and puncture resistant bottoms for warehouse workers. They're on their feet all day. And so the way that we're looking at the development is, how do we stay true to our core? It's got to not only be comfortable. Comfortable is a bit of a misnomer. Comfortable doesn't mean good. Is it supportive? Is it dispersing impact? Is it good for your joints? So that at our core DNA. And does it look good? You have to feel good in the shoes that you're wearing. And by feeling good, you have to feel proud of the shoes that you're wearing. And so from a styling perspective as well, looking at some new styles that we can launch and just make sure that as an individual, you feel like, yes, this is my shoe. I resonate with this. This makes me feel good aesthetically. And on top of that, it makes me feel good physically. And so those are our horizon 3 is, there's always going to be new tastes and changes in style. And there's going to be new territories and occupations that we can cover, and making sure those roads meet is our horizon 3 roadmap.
That's great, man. So obviously we talk about, your passion and what you're trying to develop. Can you tell me a time where you actually has to face some hardship on this journey? Which, again, you and I, we're business owner, we know it's never all rainbows and sunshine. What were some of that key defining moment that you say, okay, this is why I know this is my mission. This one, that because the why is so strong. Okay, I can find a way to overcome this.
Yeah, a couple touch points. One, so I did not realize this, but my great grandpa was actually shoe salesman for Walkover Shoes. I learned this very long into my journey. My first shoe company, I worked with folks that recognized I was new and upcharged and used cheap materials and every kind of dirty trick in the book. So I learned some physical lessons. But I got to a point where I had $412 left in the bank account, and I was living in New York. I jumped on the 6 train. And it's one of those days where just anybody friendly that says hello, you'll accept it. Mm-hmm. And I got in this conversation, went way past my stop, all the way down the Southside Seaport. And she told me that this path that I was on with shoes, even though I didn't have a sellable product yet, I didn't have any money for it, and I definitely did not have the right partners at the time, but I just felt something was there. And she essentially affirmed that by just talking to me about it and saying, this path that you're on is what you're meant to be on. Well, I get off the train and my phone buzzes, and it's a text message from my mom. And it's a shot glass being poured out on a rose and with some whiskey in our backyard. And I go, what is the significance of this picture? And she goes, well, if you remember, grandma passed away a year ago today, said the key to life is laugh every day and have a glass of whiskey every night, which I take to mean try to enjoy life and try not to stress too much. But all of those combined told me I need to keep going on this path. Well, then trying to raise funds for this business, I had almost a perfect year of rejection. It was 362 no's. I needed a few more and then it'd be a perfect year of no's. But in that, what I learned is that nobody was really thinking about it in this way. Now, there's a reason for that. Just because everyone says no doesn't mean that you should do it anyway. But I could see it and I could feel it just from the pain point that I was hearing. There's clearly a pain here, but nobody is really jumping in on this, which just told me this is a lane that I want to go into, and for a very specific reason. And it's the kindest compliment that anyone's ever paid to me. We got to talking, and her feedback to me was, I see you as somebody that doesn't solve problems. You turn problems into greatness. And I go, what does that mean? And the example is, well, if you go into the basement and the pipes are leaking, I'm not the guy that's going to come in and put duct tape on it and come back in a year and do it again. I'm going to figure out why it leaked in the first place and see if we could rebuild something so you never have a basement leak ever again. And that really is what fueled me, recognizing that, I'm not just trying to create a slightly better version of, I'm not trying to chase a trend and fill a patch in a void today. I want to do something that fundamentally changes the way that you think about footwear and that you think about your health. And as it pertains to sports, to tie this all together, what I've realized is the level of intensity and competition, especially down in youth sports, has gone up and up and up. Now, the level of support that's been provided and the tools available have not matched pace. And this gap is where we're already starting to see an over-indexed amount of injuries, a higher burnout rate, individuals that, and listen, there's only a select few that are lucky enough to make it to the pros. And even there, the treatment's available. I mean, it's amazing that people can find individuals like you. I'm going to plug you. I mean, I just hear feedback of individuals that come to your office. It's really a transformative experience. So I'm appreciative that if it's already been too late, they can find individuals like you, or even if they don't want to get to that point, they can come work with Myokinetix. But where we want to sit and play is get really early on in that journey. So if you have a sport you love from a very young age, we don't want what you wear off the field to be prohibitive to you continuing to chase that dream. And if it doesn't end up going pro and you just want to play a thing that you love, we want you to be able to enjoy your life like everybody else who hasn't been harsh on their body. And so where we sit and where we play is just, we really want to be that solution to pain. We want to turn problems into greatness. And we want to be synonymous with, if you care about your health, you want to have an extra spring in your step to be able to do the things you love, stand shoes as the shoes that's going to stand behind you.
Yeah. I mean, man, I love that story so much because there's way more times that you and I can probably count that we've been knocked down, right? Rather than just, like the track of good days versus bad day, like it's depending on who's asking, right? But the mission you have, you're definitely onto something, and I applaud you for taking on that mission. And if you look at back pain alone, is billions and billions of dollars when it comes to solving that problem. But again, people don't want to look at their shoes. They don't want to look at physical therapy as an option. Like the biggest thing that they get pushed on is straight to drugs, right? Because drugs is easy and it's a quick way to solve the problem. But again, it's just putting duct tape over the issue, but not really solving the issue themselves. And then, when my athletes come in and they have like a fresh pair of Jordans on, I'm like, dude, like those are not even the best for your feet. I mean, I get it. They look great. I'm a sneaker guy myself, but at the end of the day, the older I get, the more I realize that I just need to feel comfortable in everything that I wear, so that way I can perform my best. And with my daughter being 6 months, taking her out for a walk, like I wear your shoes to just go for a walk. I wear them when I come in, and I switch them out when I need to do like some change of direction drill with my athletes. Right, those are extremely important. And you mentioned before, again, we're talking about mattress and sleeping. Like if you don't get good sleep, you're not going to recover. If you don't have good shoes, you're not going to recover. So like these are things that's extremely important. And I think another thing too is that people they don't look like, if someone's coming in with knee pain, hip pain, back pain, right, and they're runners. The first thing I look at their running shoes. I look at the bottom of it. I look at the tread and see, okay, how are they running? Because the shoes would tell me the story, right, before I even look at their gait. So to me, like what you're wearing throughout the day, the way you sleep, the way you hydrate, the way you eat, like those tell me so many stories before we even get into like the whole table assessment and everything else. So having the right shoes is extremely, extremely important. And the fact that you can actually use your health saving plans to pay for it is unbelievable. Um, like how was the whole process into getting them to actually be, be able to get reimbursed through the insurance?
Yeah, you need to have a crazy will and drive to push through rejection. I'll be honest, when it comes to HSA, FSA, unfortunately, there has not been a ton of innovation. It is a nonprofit, which is interesting. I didn't know that at the time. But what they're focused on is if it's already a category of product that exists, then it can qualify. But if it's slightly different, so for example, we found that orthotic insoles were covered, but a shoe that had an orthotic insole with an outsole was not. If you add an added benefit, it falls outside of that gap. And so it was a lot of research, a lot of testing, a lot of data. Some of them published, some of them not. But we just worked with podiatrists, the American Medical Podiatrists Association, working with Johns Hopkins, head of foot and ankle surgery, working with individuals that eventually, I call it swarming. If you're trying to get into a location and the door is closed, there's probably a lot of other doors. Well, rather than try to just go knock at all of them, what I did is figured out, well, who are the key decision makers that have the biggest impact in this world? And let me go talk to them. So what ended up happening, kind of like how a nuclear explosion happens, it's all these tiny little forces coming in that create that reaction. And so our approach took a very long time to do so, over 4 years, but find all the touch points that come in. So we just became hard to ignore with all the different areas that are the evaluation criteria, saying, you guys got to take a look at these shoes. And then the final stage was send the shoes out, do a blind test, and you got it. I think it was like 95% needed to approve, and I think about 99% approved. It might have been 100, honestly. But it was just a universal approval once we got through that process. And that's really been fundamental for us. I think in a good month, we may have as much as half of our sales come through that. And what's really cool about that too is if you have an HSA, FSA account, usually you don't budget it right. So like I set one up when I wanted to get LASIK, it's elective, and I got a discount on the LASIK. Is years ago. I was legally blind until I got the surgery done, so it's life-changing for me. But I had a little bit extra left over because the office was kind. Well, as you know, some of these accounts, they don't roll over. And so what do you do with that excess? I'm not going to go buy 10 tubes of sunscreen. I don't need that. So you're left with kind of this awkward amount. Usually it's a couple $100. And so the really cool thing is because it's use it or lose it, rather than go on and just buy some junk that you don't need or your money gets taken, why not get something that serves a benefit in your life? It looks good. It feels great. And so that's kind of this surprise and delight at the end of the year that we like to share with individuals who haven't heard us before. You can actually get something pretty cool with what's left on your account.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I tell people to try to use all their benefits. So I'm so happy you brought that up because that's something that we're going to tell people, because people wait till the end of the year to like get their surgery and do all these things anyways. So this is extremely, extremely good news for people to hear. Rob, last question, man. The way and the pace you've been going, it seems like you're not slowing down anytime soon. What's personally in it for you? Like what's your thing?
Yeah. So I'm an athlete my whole life, and I will say this until my last day. The best gold medal that I've ever gotten is this one right here. And I've got an 8-month-old daughter in the other room. Goal for me is it's to be a dad. I'm so fortunate that we started that journey. She's just like the most amazing, beautiful thing in my life. Just watching her grow is just incredible. And honestly, everything else is a bonus. But when it comes to the company specifically, I'd love for the opportunity, to just keep doing what we're doing and benefit the lives of individuals. But to be able to afford her the opportunity, no matter what she wants to be in life, no matter what dreams she wants to chase, to be able to have the resources to help connect those dots for her is really what's in it for me.
I love it, man. Something different about girls' dad. That's why we work extra hard.
That's right.
Extra protectors. That's what I say. Clearly with bias, but there's a lot of truth.
That's right.
Rob, I appreciate your time so much, man. And again, you guys listen to this podcast, we're a big fan of his product. You can get it at the clinic, and then you can go to the website. We'll put everything in the show note. And yeah, I mean, they're great. I am a fan, an all white one. That's my favorite. So it's the best way to go. Rob, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate all the things you're doing.
Absolutely. We love our partnership.
Take care.
Cheers.